up? How is everybody doing? Welcome to a brand new episode of Part of the Problem. My apologies that it's been a little while. We missed both Monday and Tuesday of this week. I know we're a little bit behind. Me and Rob were both out at Skankfest in New Orleans this whole week doing shows all day long and stuff. So it was a lot of fun, but it was a very busy week. And Rob has moved into some type of brick establishment of some sorts. He's out there. He's getting stuff done. We got a lot to talk about, though, so let's jump into it. Real quick, before we start, I did want to mention that my lovely wife's children's book that she wrote, Healthy Hibernation, which so many of you guys have supported, is, I believe, will be delivered tomorrow. I think this is the last day or second to last day of pre-order. So thank you to all those of you who have ordered it. Go get it. It's a beautiful, sweet little children's book about eating healthy. Great for if you have kids or someone you know or care about as kids. Great Christmas gifts. So yeah, Healthy Hibernation, available at Amazon. All right, Rob, from one, let's pivot from children's books into the news of the day, which is a tough one. Or anyway, if you have anything, what you got gigs coming up, Rob, in the next week or so? All right.
I got you stuff, buddy. I got Poughkeepsie with you this Saturday. And then if you haven't checked it out, we did a very fun live Part of the Problem podcast, which is still available wherever the Skankfest streams are. So
was it Veep, I think, is the service? Yeah, go check that out. It was a very fun pay-per-view event. We had Ryan Long and Sam Tripoli joining us,
Vega.
And Chris Vega joining us. It was a lot of fun. So yeah. Go check that out for sure. It was a good one. And I will, if you want to there, if you're in the live chat, thank you for those of you guys who support the show. If you're in the live chat and you want to get a question in, throw it in there. I will try my best to get to some of them at some point in the show. All right, Rob, we got to talk about this Epstein trauma, man, because that seems to be the big thing that's been going on. And so as where we are right now, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you've been staying on top of this, but I believe the bill is on its way to Donald Trump's desk right now. So it has passed with overwhelming support, and it's on its way to Donald Trump's desk. And I guess we could talk all about this and some of the new revelations and what we think this is going to lead to going forward. But my first takeaway of all of this, and kind of keeping up with the last few days where Trump kind of flipped and then said he was for, I just don't know that I've ever seen an issue mishandled more by an administration. I mean, it's not even like, there were certain things, like even when Obama had promised to close Guantanamo and then he kind of backed off closing Guantanamo, but like at least there was a bit of, I don't know, like a plausible, I thought this was a little bit easier before I was in office, but now that I got in there and have to deal with the logistics of it, it's not quite so easy to close it. Maybe I could reduce it by a little bit, but not close it completely. And obviously there were like things with Joe Biden's age where, obviously that was a bigger deal in some ways, but at the same time, it's like, okay, he was senile and we're lying and saying he's not. It's at least fairly straightforward what the thing is. But this dude, I mean, to go from like, I've just kind of never seen anything exactly like it. Donald Trump was able to harness this massive cultural energy that carried him to victory in 2024. And a big part of that was, well, obviously the drain the swamp spirit, but the Epstein stuff was one that like he talked about a lot. All of his men, like all of the king's men were on record. Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, all of them were talking about releasing the Epstein stuff. They then pivot on a dime and Donald Trump tries to do his typical thing where like he goes, nah, it's a hoax. Here's a nickname for Marjorie Taylor Greene if you're talking about it. Thomas Massey's a loser, blah, blah. It just falls flat on its face. Then the files didn't exist. Then we were stupid to be asking for them. Then the files did exist, but it was all kiddie porn, so we couldn't show you any of it. Then you know what I mean? Like after they had done the whole thing with the binders and made this faux presentation, months later, they're telling you it was a Democratic hoax. This was like, this is a Russiagate type thing. And then finally to flip again after going to war with the best congressman in the country over his bill. At the last minute, Donald Trump is so politically defeated that he has to flip and support the release of the bill. I just like, dude, the amount of goddamn political capital and enthusiasm that Donald Trump burnt over this issue to then just result in supporting the release of the files, seemingly, which, you know, whatever we get into, they'll end up be missing or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's real, but like just the way to handle this, if you were going to end up here, he like, it was such a self-inflicted wound where that he may never recover from, if I'm being completely honest, in my view. But anyway, any thoughts you have, Rob?
Well, I agree 100% with what you said, but that's all from like a public optics standpoint. Behind the scenes, there is kind of the politicking of who's your winning coalition. And if you want to go with Massey's earlier, what he said earlier, which is I don't think Donald Trump was actually involved in this, but I do think he's protecting some friends. So it could be that Donald Trump did everything he could to protect whoever he was looking to protect. And now Thomas Massey, big victory here. Stuck with it. Looks great. A lot of public support. So if you want to talk about Donald Trump fumbling the ball for Thomas Massey to pick it up and go, no, we're not dropping this, and I will do everything in my power to keep the pressure on you that we're moving forward with actually releasing all this stuff. So good on Thomas Massey. Pushed it so far that Congress had to vote on it, and no, except for one person. I don't even know what it was. I'm going to guess it was Johnson, but one person voted against it. Everyone else voted for it. And
no, so I think Johnson voted for it. I believe I have to double check that, but I think he did. I think after Trump said he wanted him to, Johnson was like, well, all right, what can I do here now? But no, you're right. A huge win for Thomas Massey. And I thought it was a great example, you know, because it seemed to me that, you know, I don't know if you saw when Thomas Massey straight up said, he made this like call to action to his fellow congressmen. And he goes, hey, to all my Republicans out there, like Donald Trump's the president for 3 more years. He's not here after that. And so he might save you in your midterm election right now in a red district, but he won't even be able to help you in 5-6 years. And you're going to be on record having protected pedophiles. And I do think there was something about that it seemed to move the needle. It seemed like it was shortly after that Trump kind of caved and a lot of the Republicans started caving. And it's, you know, if that's the case that did move the needle, it does kind of like show you how much you can kind of bully other politicians with something like this. I mean, I think it's like when you said what a win for Thomas Massey. Yeah, how would it even be a loss? Even if the files don't reveal anything, okay. He was trying to get a pedophile's files released. Like, what, you know, he was trying to get down to the bottom of it. And if they do release anything of value, then it's a huge victory that you can never take away from him. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Cove Pure. You may have seen this. Utah and Florida recently banned fluoride in their drinking water. Now ask yourself, why are they doing a massive U-turn on a chemical that's been pumped into our water for over 80 years? Well, I don't know, but if you're anything like me, you'd rather not have your family and your children drinking that stuff. So you got to check out Cove Pure. If you don't already know what it is, it's an awesome countertop water purifier, but it's so much more than that. It's an awesome countertop water purifier, so you know that the water you and your family, your kids, your parents are drinking doesn't have any of that stuff in it that you don't want to. It's lab certified to remove up to 99.9% of all contaminants, pretty much anything that isn't water. Fluoride, lead, PFAS, fertilizer runoff, it all gets removed. So if you're looking for a gift that's good for your loved ones and one that they'll actually use, I highly recommend the Cove Pure. And because they've partnered with the show, they're giving you guys a special $250 Black Friday discount with my link, covepure.com/problem. That's COVEPURE.com/problem to get $250 off. Hurry up before this sale ends. covepure.com/problem for $250 off. All right, let's get back into the show. But it does just remind you, like, almost in a way, like, dude, if Thomas Massey, if a congressman from Kentucky who's at war with the president who's in his own political party, if he can move the needle with Congress just by, like, you know, rhetorically move the needle with them, just imagine what Donald Trump could have done over the last year. You know, like for all the talk of all this shit about how, like, border funding was held hostage with all the other spending. What, Donald Trump couldn't have just come in and said, Congress, you get me a standalone border bill right now. And any Republican who doesn't vote for that is against border security. He could have just made them do all. Dude, he could have cut $2 trillion out of the federal budget just by saying, hey, guys, that's it. We're balancing. We're getting toward a balanced budget here. Give me a budget with $2 trillion missing and I will sign it, and forced him to. But of course, he doesn't have the desire or the wherewithal to do any of that.
We can speculate on the reasons, but Donald Trump was uninterested in actually exposing the Epstein storyline. Now, that could be because the CIA gave him a talking to, the intelligence was so valuable, his name's casually in there enough times that he thinks it just brings bad press for him. Whatever the reason is, Donald Trump was not actually interested in exposing the story or potentially cleaning up the deep state. Maybe it was to protect Israel. We can speculate on the reasons. All I'm saying is if you wanted to muckrack this story and you were Donald Trump, there were a lot of avenues to do so, and he was clearly really hoping that this would go away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And we can speculate about that, as you said. And look, Thomas Massie, I think at least, we could ask him, but I think at least the way I took it was that he also was speculating just in the most good faith way about Donald Trump. Like, he didn't say he has any reason to believe that, or he didn't point to any reason. He just said, I don't think Donald Trump was actually like diddling little girls or anything on the thing. I just think that like he's got all these rich people that around him who would all be implicated, and the pressure was put on him. I would say, and I think me and you, we talked about this at the time. Again, this is all speculating, but like there was something about the energy at which Donald Trump seemed almost flustered with the Epstein thing that like he did. Like it was such a thing where they're just like, we're going to release this file, everything on this file. We're going to show you exactly what it is. What file? What? No, there was no file. That was a Democrat hoax. What do you like it was like this like very weird thing. And now at first, I think my inclination was kind of to speculate the way Thomas Massie was like, because I do have a thing, despite how some people might mischaracterize us, we're actually really not kooks, me and you. Like, we don't really jump to conspiracies. You always kind of in your mind, you're like, well, if there's a less salacious answer here, let's go with that first. You know what I mean? Like, okay, it doesn't mean. I will say, with some of the emails that have been released, and I'm not just talking about the Bubba one, because who the hell knows? We can hear from, we will hear from Jeffrey Epstein's brother in a few moments here. But particularly, maybe, and look, part of this is because I'm not like the world's greatest expert on the Jeffrey Epstein story. Like, as I've talked about on the show before, I listen to Daryl Cooper's podcast on the Martyr Made show about it. I listened to his podcast with Tucker. I've read probably like a dozen or 24 articles about it, but like, that's it. That's really not like, it's not like it is a story that I know super, super well. And so I guess I really did not realize how connected and how late in the game Jeffrey Epstein was still so connected in the Trump circle. Like, just seeing a lot of the emails, like, oh, I didn't realize that, like, oh, this is in 2018. He's talking about meeting with Bannon and what, other dirt. It was like, oh, Trump was in the White House already. This is many years after Jeffrey Epstein was popped, you know what I mean, and convicted for soliciting underage prostitution. So, like, I guess it just, not even saying, say, the most salacious thing there, not making any claims, it just does seem like, oh, it seemed a lot more likely that there's stuff that's embarrassing for Trump. I mean, look, at the very least, to be like, if it comes out that you actually were this involved with a guy who was running a sex trafficking ring, and you knew, it was known at this point. This was like, not back in the day, we're like, oh, I thought he was just a philanthropist or like an investment banker. I didn't realize he was doing all this. Like, oh, no, you realize this has been out. There's court documents about it. For him to be that closely involved is at the very least, it looks horrible. And so I don't know. It's not to say that is the motivation or that's the only motivation, but it certainly seems like a very plausible one. No?
Yeah, that there was just a casual enough tie-in, even if I went as far back as when they were just hanging out, and Donald Trump was being a more casual creep, where they both figured out the grift that if you were modeling adjacent, you could meet very attractive women. And then Jeffrey Epstein took the drug a little bit too far, and they had to split off. I'm saying even if the tie is just that casual, it doesn't look great in the news.
Yeah.
And it seems like Donald Trump had to throw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for having. I think he actually recruited Marjorie, the lady who Guffrey, who recently passed away. I think was the victim that had been taken from Mar-a-Lago. So Trump kind of knew what was going on. At a minimum, I'm just saying the most favorable. And that was one of the confirmations of the recent emails was the line by Epstein that Trump knew.
Yeah. That's pretty damning. And it is having him say that, seeing how closely connected they kind of were. It's not just whatever the impression, which like what Trump almost tried to make. It's like, yeah, there's some videos of us back in the day at the same party. And like, yeah, I said one time on tape that he really likes the girls young. Like, okay. But no, now this is like years after the conviction. He's still saying like, oh yeah, Trump knew this whole thing. It just makes it very believable that probably he did. But then the other thing that's really blown wide open on this, and this is before anything having to do with Thomas Massey. This was the drop sites, great reporting that Ryan Grimm broke a few weeks ago. But it is like, you really can't like overstate how big a deal that was, because essentially up until those recent email leaks that Ryan Grimm published, the evidence that say he had connections to Israeli intelligence or something like that was always circumstantial. Now, it was overwhelming circumstantial evidence that left you in a position where you were like, well, dude, what the hell? I mean, like, okay, like you've got, look, let's just look at it, okay? You've got a Jewish guy who ends up like unexplainably rising up the ranks at Bear Stearns and getting right up to the very, very top of finance and managing finances for like the most powerful people. He links up with the daughter of a Mossad spy and then starts running like a sex trafficking ring where he has the prime minister of Israel popping over to his apartment on a regular basis and staying there for extended periods of time. And okay, so like even say just that, and there's more to it, but like even just that, you go like, oh, like the daughter of a Mossad spy and you're friends with the Israeli prime minister, like there's this connect. But so it was like, and I think you could say that like maybe some of us got a little out over our skis. Like I know there was one time I said on a podcast where I was like, we know Epstein was Mossad. And then I said later, I was like, okay, I guess maybe like I overstated that a bit, but it did seem like, but now we've got actual emails of him trying to connect foreign diplomats with Mossad agents, working with them on how to approach Mossad. Like now the connection, there's actual tangible hard evidence for this. And so I guess when you say Trump knew, now like the question becomes like, yeah, but what did he know exactly? Like, what are we saying you knew here? Now, I don't know that it's right to say that Epstein was Mossad. I've always said, aside from that time when I did kind of get over my skis there a bit, like I think if this operation was what it seems to be, then like they would not use someone who was like a W-9 employee. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you wouldn't be.
It would be W-9.
Oh, I'm sorry. W-9 is the one. I'm saying it wouldn't be an employee. No, I'm saying it wouldn't be an employee. It wouldn't even be an independent contractor. It would be a plausible deniability. What are you talking about? This guy doesn't work for Mossad, but is actually carrying out their issue, their ops. But also, I would just say, keep in mind, like where exactly Mossad begins and the CIA ends isn't so clear. What exactly is America and what is Israel and what like it's all a little bit murky in a way. Like it's like when I was arguing with Coleman Hughes and he was like arguing that Sharon was the prime minister at the time of the war in Iraq and he had initially said he preferred that we attack Iran. So Israel had nothing to do with it. And you're like, okay, well, first of all, he changed his mind shortly after that. But even if that were true, it's like, okay, fine. So Israel had nothing to do with it, except for the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu, the longest serving prime minister in Israeli history, testified before Congress that we should fight the war in Iraq. And he also wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal saying we should fight the war in Iraq. And Ehud Barak wrote an op-ed in the New York Times saying we should overthrow Saddam Hussein and fight the war in Iraq. And then Sharon Perez wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post saying that we should fight the war in Iraq. And then the Israel lobby spent the entire year of 2002 lobbying for the war in Iraq. So like, it's not that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, yes, it's true that in some strict sense you could go, well, that's not exactly the government of Israel. And then part of that's kind of like Americans, but also at the same time, there's clearly this deep involvement between the two. Like, it's not just, and so at the very least, it's, I think, just undeniably proven now that Jeffrey Epstein was connected to Mossad. And that is, like, you just kind of can't overstate what a big deal that is. This was when Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson and me all said this at Charlie Kirk's event. This was the controversy of American politics for that month. You know, like, this was like and people were absolutely skewered over that. You know, just like the entire, all the Zionists all said that, like, this is just blatant anti-Semitism to make an accusation like this. Well, then the proof comes out. Any retractions? You know, no. It doesn't matter. Anyone apologizing to Megyn Kelly? Yeah, well, turns out your hunch was kind of right. I don't know. So anyway, I guess, you know, look, I'm not trying to put together pieces here, and I'm open that don't fit, and I'm open to other, you know, possibilities. But if you look at this and you go, wait, so if, let's just say hypothetically, Donald Trump knew, what does knew mean? Does knew mean that he knew that there were underage girls? Does knew mean he knew that this was like an op to compromise people? Or does it mean that he knew that this dude was essentially an agent of a foreign government? And if that's the case, it does just kind of shine a whole new light on the fact that Donald Trump is the most pro-Zionist president in the history of the country. Once you make that, I'm sorry, that's not like that crazy of a leap to go, you find out this guy's connected to Mossad, you find out this guy's also connected to Donald Trump. It sure seems like a goddamn blackmail operation that he was running. Donald Trump has been spending enormous political capital to try to squash this story, to try to silence it. And he's the most pro-Israel administration in history. Those are some interesting facts to all have up on the board and see how they fit together at the very least. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Proton Drive. If you're tired of big tech snooping through your files, switch to Proton Drive today. It's end-to-end encrypted cloud storage trusted by over 100 million people worldwide, so only you can access your photos, work, and personal files. It's free to sign up and supports our show when you do so. Proton has a bunch of different tools, and Proton Drive is great. It does all the same stuff that your drive does. You're just going to be more protected. Check them out today. So right now, go to proton.me/Dave Smith. That's proton.me/Dave Smith. All right, let's get back into the show.
I think those are all fair dots to lay out. I'm still of the outlook of it's unclear what Donald Trump's looks to gain from hiding the Epstein story, and it could be as simple as the CIA, and he doesn't want to get testy with that power structure.
Listen, that is totally possible. So just to be clear, like, I am laying out those dots, but like, yeah, that might be another way that they fit together. It might simply be that Donald Trump is just like, yo, I can't, like, there's only so many things I can do, and I cannot piss off this power source here.
So just two things to note of kind of the evidence that you're laying out. The first is the Ehud Barak email hack from, I think it was from Iran, is quite interesting, and clearly showcases the fact that it might just be like different administrations, but at least when Ehud Barak was in office, he was working closely with Epstein on some big foreign diplomatic type stuff, which would suggest that at a minimum, Epstein's some sort of a contractor or asset of Ehud Barak's. That's one. In terms of the emails that went out last week, the most damning one was the one that said Trump's the dog that hasn't bit back or hasn't barked back yet, and that's because he spent countless hours with that redacted victim in my house. There's something about now the emails that they just muddied the whole waters of it, because now you also have this email of, oh, Clinton was never on the island, I never met Al Gore. So there's also just the possibility that Epstein was slick enough to kind of send emails that would murky the waters of if people were reading through his emails, and the correspondence with the bad statements about Trump, or with the author who wrote the bad book about Trump in the last administration, who, of course, he's playing the card of, oh, I was just, I wasn't working for Epstein, or I wasn't trying to, figure out or help Epstein spin stories. I was trying to get information from him. It's like the classic pedophile gets caught bringing the iced tea to the kid. I was trying to teach this kid not to meet with random strangers on the internet. The point I'm making is, firstly, huge win by Massey, kept the thing in the news, pushed the story all the way to the files being released. There could be great stuff in the emails and all these files. It could just be absolutely bogus, nothing and nonsense. And there's richer storylines for muckracking this thing, which mostly include getting all the staff members and everyone involved with Epstein in front of Congress, figuring out what happened with the JP Morgan lawsuit, finding out what the story is with the 5 other co-conspirators that were given immunity. There's a lot of better leads than kind of just where the files are, but the files exist, so the idea that they wouldn't all just be made public at this point is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's right. And that we want to go, hey, maybe there's some other type of lead in there that'll give us some more information on something else to follow up on. No, I mean, we should take a moment before we get into some of these clips to really also say, because you're right. I mean, this was like just an amazing accomplishment by Thomas Massey. And, he has, in this process, really taken some arrows. Like he stuck his neck out on the line to get this for us. And we should we must protect Thomas Massey at all costs. Like, just to be clear, it's not only that Donald Trump has gone after him in the most vicious way. And isn't it like, there's something about it. I know I've talked about this a lot before, but like Donald Trump has this quality about him that, like, because he came along in the moment that he did in 2016, when the political class had just betrayed the American people in every way possible, in cahoots with the corporate media. And Donald Trump just pissed all of them off. And he was so vicious that it was hard to not just enjoy the fact that he's so vicious with all these people who really deserve it. But man, when that viciousness gets turned around on good people for the crime of being good people, you really do see what an ugly human being Donald Trump is. Donald Trump went after Thomas Massey for remarrying. Like, if you don't know the story, like, Thomas Massey lost his wife of like 30 years last year. Then he remarried this year. And like, I don't know. I mean, I guess from the outside looking in, it's a little quick to get remarried. But like, who the fuck are any of us to judge what it's like to lose your goddamn high school sweetheart who you had like 4 children with, who you've been with for decades? And the fact that he got, like, first of all, it's just none of our fucking business. None of us know the details of this thing. And for Donald Trump to like put that on blast, you're just like, for what? For the crime of, as JD Vance said, Rob, right? Well, I mean, he just votes against us all the time, and this is politics. It's like, yeah, that's right, Rob. He wouldn't support their war in Iran or burying a pedophile story. So that's why he gets all these arrows, because he spoke out against launching an illegal war of aggression, and because he wouldn't cover up for pedophilia. So that's why he has Miriam Adelson, who Donald Trump is on record saying prefers Israel to the United States of America, is pledging $20 million for his primary campaign, which is, we got a little time for this. It's in 2026. This should be the project that like all decent Americans get behind. Like, I'm sorry, you will not take out our best congressman because he committed the crime of not supporting more wars for Israel or support covering up Israel's pedophile op. Like, sorry, that's just too insane. That is too insane that the biggest funder of the president, who the president admits prefers a foreign country to our own, gets to take out Thomas Massey over this shit. Like, all decent people, our mission should be to like donate to Thomas Massey's campaign, support him, do whatever you can. You know, if you know anyone in Kentucky, tell them about it. Like, I don't know, but maybe we'll come up with a better game plan than that. But we should keep in mind that like this is such an important symbolic political like campaign that's coming up there, that congressional primary race, which I guess the general election is in 2026. So I don't know exactly when they got to pick when the primary ends up, but I guess that's where the action is in that primary. But anyway, yeah, it's just, it really is like, it's disgusting what they tried to do to Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene too. We got to give her some credit on this thing, man. Cause like, that crazy lady turned out to be the best kind of crazy. Let me just tell you, she really did turn out to be the best kind of crazy. Rob, you know how crazy chick could go one of two ways, you know? There's either the crazy chick who you're like, God damn it, that's the coolest goddamn chick, but she's crazy. Or there's the crazy chick who's like, give me a heads up before she's coming around so I can not be here when she's here. She turned out to be the right type of crazy.
Well, there's only one kind of crazy. It's just whether or not they're ride or die on your side or just want to ruin your life. So at the moment, she's she's fighting. She's using all the crazy on the good stuff.
I understand. You're saying it's a machine gun. Crazy woman is a machine gun. And like, if you can get it focused over here at the bad guys, it's a very powerful weapon. But then that thing might be like, oh, okay, you can't. Okay, you're right. I think that's a good way to think about it. All right, let's get into some of these clips here, because there were a couple that I thought they were very interesting and relevant. So first of all, you know what? Before we get into the Mike Johnson stuff, let's do the ones with Mark Epstein. We could do this in either order. They're both with our dear friend of the show, Chris Cuomo, huge fan of mine, was actually just tweeting about me today and how insightful and you know, talented I am. But so Chris Cuomo got Mark Epstein on the show, and there were here a couple moments here that I thought were very interesting. So let's play that.
I got literally, it sent to me a dozen times this weekend. Did you see the emails between Jeffrey Epstein and his brother Mark? Did you see? It's proof that Epstein was covering and had stuff on Trump as his sex life. This back and forth with Jeffrey, where he tells you that Bannon is with him, and you say, oh, great, ask him if Putin still has photos of Donnie T, I'm assuming President Trump, with blowing, which we all know what that means, Bubba.
Let me stop you here. I'm not discussing that email. This was a private email between Jeffrey and myself. There's two brothers talking. It's nobody's business what we wrote. The only thing I responded to is because people got crazy with the Bubba reference and they tried to pin it on Clinton. So I made a public statement that it was not any reference to Bill Clinton. I like Bill Clinton, and I'm sorry for him that he had to go through that. But the email had nothing to do with
pause right
Clinton.
here.
Yeah, let's pause it, Natalie.
I'll let you go first, but I just we have to address what was just said there.
Well, first of all, look, I'm not going to address this. This is a private email between two brothers. You're just like, dude, I think we're past that. Like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, yes, like under normal circumstances, that might be a reasonable defense, but like these are extraordinary circumstances, because we're talking about a guy who ran a giant sex trafficking ring, who was clearly connected to intelligence, and like, now we actually really want to know what the hell you were talking about here. So I don't know. It's a crazy, it's like, I don't know what to say. It's like,
but it's even crazier to go, I'm not going to comment
it's going,
other than to let that one guy off the hook.
Well, it's going like, if I were to go, if you were like in my house and I was like, hey, Rob, can you empty your pockets so I see you didn't steal anything? And you go, dude, are you accusing me of stealing something? But like, if I had just caught you stealing 5 things, it'd be a little bit different. Like, well, now it's kind of a reasonable ask. So like now we're going, yeah, you're actually going to have to tell us what you meant about those emails. Cause it sounds here like you're saying that Donald Trump was sucking Bill Clinton's dick. So like, if you could get a little more specific, but then it's like, I won't answer that, but I will answer that it wasn't Clinton. Like, so you're still leaving us with Donald Trump was blowing someone? Like, how is that? Like, who would think that's enough of an answer to not be like, yeah, dude, like, come on, you're going to have to give us something here.
It's crazy for that to be the biggest storyline in the news and to go, I'm happy to talk to you, but not about the exact thing that. Oh, that's private. Well, then don't come on. Then just stay home and don't come on the news. But
It's the only reason to talk to you.
Yes, but then to go, oh yeah, I'll just clarify that it wasn't that one person I'm looking to protect and I like.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So wait, so you're confirming Donald Trump blew someone? I mean, I wish that Cuomo would have asked him that question. That would have been great. Like, okay, so you're telling me it wasn't Bill Clinton. Does that mean that you're actually confirming that Donald Trump is gay and was blowing somebody?
Well, it's imagine Mark Epstein coming on a story and you're like, okay, so we got this email and you said this. What do you think? And he goes, look, dude, I'm happy to talk to you about the Eagles or the weather. I'm happy to talk to you about tax policy. I'm not going to get into Jeffrey Epstein. You go, but why else would we be talking to you, Mark Epstein? That's the entire point. Yes, it's just too ridiculous.
I love how he sounds like just the biggest construction worker dope of all time.
It is pretty funny. Yeah, let's keep playing the clip.
My last word on that email.
And I get it. You don't want to talk about it. It was a private back and forth with your brother. Fine. But it is being used as proof that your brother had compromised information about Donald Trump. Is that what you are referring to? And is that what you suspect?
No, Jeffrey, in 2016, I said this publicly before. Jeffrey told me that if he said what he knew about the candidates, they'd have to cancel the election. He didn't tell me what he knew, but Jeffrey definitely had dirt on Trump. And you could see in the emails, Trump could deny it all he wants, but it's pretty clear. I mean, everything Trump says is a lie.
But that's not what you were talking about.
It's provable that he was in Jeffrey's office. He said he wasn't in the house. It's provable he was there. He said everything he says is a lie.
But that's not what you were talking about in the text thread. You don't know of any information that he had.
I'm not discussing that email.
If I mean, come on and bash Trump, I will. But if you want any other information other than Trump bad, Clinton good, I can't really address it at this time.
Look, I mean, this guy, obviously, he's being a snake here. Like, he's implying a thing, saying he won't comment on it, but his comment is a huge comment. Then he just says it. Then he won't comment on it anymore. So it's like he's being a snake here. But at the same time, you know, having Jeffrey Epstein's brother tell you that Jeffrey Epstein told him in 2016, again, and think about how late into the game this is. In 2016, this is like shortly before he dies, he's saying, I got enough dirt that like I would end this election right now if I were to release it. Just saying, that is one more piece that does just like bolster the case of like, wait a minute. But so then you are kind of confirming that like this guy was at least somewhat in the business of having dirt on politicians. Now, who knows whether this guy is telling the truth or pulling this out of his ass. And I will say, Rob, as you commented on his construction worker voice, that accent just makes you sound like you're pulling shit out of your ass, you know? And he's also being evasive and being like, I don't know. He's being shady. But it is still something to hear him on record saying that. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is Ridge, longtime sponsor, and I am a big fan of the Ridge wallet. It is beautiful. It's a sleek, minimalist wallet. It's really all you need. I used to have one of those big leather-bound wallets, but it was just, I don't know why, because I guess because I was born in the 1980s, and that's what I thought men were supposed to do, just keep a bunch of receipts and business cards that I don't need in a big leather bag that sits in one half of my ass and throws my spine out of alignment. But now, I just carry this sleek little Ridge wallet around, and it's cool. It holds 12 cards plus cash. It's made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fibers. They've got 50 plus different colors and styles to choose from. They all look really cool. Also, losing your wallet is something you don't have to worry about anymore because the Ridge AirTag attachment lets you know where your wallet is at all times. You don't even have to panic if you leave it somewhere. And plus, for a limited time, our listeners can get 10% off at Ridge by using the promo code POTP10 at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use that promo code POTP10 and you're all set. After your purchase, they usually ask where you heard about them, so make sure to let them know that you heard about them here. That's helps support the show. Ridge.com, promo code POTP10 for 10% off. All right, let's get back into the show. I don't know. Any other thoughts?
Well, this is another one of the characters that needs to be brought in front of Congress and figure out wait, so you casually know about some of these storylines? Like, what are you alluding to here? So are you actually a resource for if we wanted to figure out what had happened here? And so what,
Yeah.
you want to protect the legacy of your pedophile brother? Is that so? Then fine.
Well,
Then
like,
you're a
where-
bad guy. At that point, if there's a dead pedophile who might be able to help us uncover the other pedophiles that he was working with, and you're more interested in not tarnishing someone who already has a horrible legacy, then you're a bad guy too.
Yep. Well, also just like where are the neoconservatives when you need them? You know, like where's the person just going, oh, okay, well, label him a terrorist and let's torture him until we find out what happened here. You know, like, I mean, they were so willing to do that for any Muslim who maybe knew a Muslim who took some money from like a terrorist related organization. You know, it's like Scott Horton used to say
Use
that.
the same loose affiliation. Like, I know that he didn't maybe necessarily be a pedophile,
Yeah.
but I guess if suspected pedophile,
Yeah, he was pedophile adjacent or something like that. That's enough to hold a
he was
Muslim in Gitmo.
assisting and abetting pedophiles.
Well, I remember Scott Horton used to say, and he was kind of making, like, he was saying it tongue in cheek, but he was like, I don't know, you get like the you know, say like the redacted pages of the 9/11 Commission, which like the feds had, you know what I mean? Like we didn't have them till years later, but like they had them, they were just redacted. And you're like, so all this, like, you installed this whole torture regime, but you never just tortured Prince Bandar? Like, let's get to the bottom of that. Wait, there was Saudi involvement in 9/11? Okay, well, let's get exactly to the bottom of that. What the hell did you know? What was the level of involvement? And like, by the way, I'm not suggesting we actually do any of this, but you know what I mean? Like, there is just something about where the political will is that we wouldn't just all go, okay, we got this guy. This guy knows more than he's letting on and is openly saying he's not willing to tell the rest of it. Like, okay, as a society, let's decide no one is going to sell this guy food until he goddamn sits down and explains himself or whatever, you know, like, I don't know. There's just it seems like there's no actual like political or social will to, like, when it actually matters, go, no, I'm sorry, we're getting to the bottom of this thing. Like, I don't know. All right, let's go to the next clip where I liked what he said about which I got to say, this is where I really I find myself in agreement with Jeffrey Epstein's brother here. What a weird statement to make. But he says what he thinks is going on with the release of these files. Let's play that clip.
What I want to talk about is I've been recently told the reason they're going to be releasing these things and the reason for the flip is that they're sanitizing these files. There's a facility in Winchester, Virginia, where they're scrubbing the files to take Republican names out of it. That's what I was told by a pretty good source. What I do want to talk about is...
I did just think that was interesting. Now, who knows about his source or whatever, but don't you ultimately, Rob, kind of have to agree with that conclusion that even if this comes to a thing, even if like right now Donald Trump goes, dude, I have to sign this into law because I have to find a way to put this behind me politically, and I can't veto it after first off, I think they have a veto proof majority at this point, but like he can't veto it after he told people to vote for it, right? But then of course, my guess is that there's a massive effort going on behind the scenes now to get whatever the most incriminating shit might be out of there. And so in a way, that's another way where this does become a win for Thomas Massie no matter what, which I understand people could criticize the methodology of the thinking here, but it's just the situation we find ourselves in. But even if these files come back with no smoking gun at all, no one's going to be convinced by that, because we know too much about this story. So even if you come back with nothing, you're like, oh, all right, you guys just buried whatever was there or was interesting. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, first is whatever time period in New York City cab drivers were still white, this guy sounds like every kook cab driver from that time period. Like, there's a facility, they're cleaning it up. Like, yeah, I'm doing Rodney, but you get the point.
Yeah.
But on the same note, it's like, wait, so you still have high-level sources, but you were uninvolved? How do you have the inside scoop on the story, and why can't you tell us more about it? What do you mean you got high-level sources? What exactly is your business that you have high-level sources as to what the information from the Epstein file or how it's being treated?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, you know, I suppose, like, I'm sure that there were people, probably reporters and such, who have contacted him trying to get more information on the Epstein thing. But yeah, how the hell did that land you in a position where you have any insight into what the FBI is doing with their files or something like that before they're declassified?
It's like the team is still together. They check in on each other every once in a while. And yeah. Well, this guy, it's funny that he's also talking to the Fredo of the Cuomo family. It's the Fredo convention.
Dude, I can't believe I didn't even think about that. Just a couple of sexual predators, dumb brothers, having a conversation. Having a conversation about what's going on in the world. One Fredo to another. Tell me the deal here, bro. What were you talking to your brother about? Yeah, that is that's a good point. Okay, so one other element of this, which has been, I think, very bizarre, that we have not talked about. Me and you talked a little bit about this before the show, but has been Mike Johnson in this whole thing. And he is I don't know, his reaction to this has been weird. He said at one point, did you see where he said, like, so first he was against the release of the files. When Trump flipped, I guess he kind of flipped along with him, but then goes, but we need amendments to this bill to like redact parts of these files. And at one point he even said, because it would threaten the political order. And like, this is like the same thing where they go, listen, where did they go? It's redacted for national security reasons. You're like, dude, what do you mean? What do you mean? How is a sex trafficking ring involving children tied to national security concerns? Explain to me how there's an innocent answer for all that, because that makes no goddamn sense on the face of it. But here,
trust will erode if the public discovers that our sources and methods includes child trafficking, and that our institution.
By the way, it's what they all say. I remember Ben Bernanke, when Ron Paul was getting some traction with his audit, the Federal Reserve legislation, which he never was able to get passed, tragically. And Ben Bernanke said, that someone asked him, they go, what reason would you possibly have for not opening your books? And he goes, it could undermine confidence. And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Yes. Well, I guess that is true. Yes. It's like, yeah, there might be a rush out of dollars if people found out that we just printed 15 trillion of them and sent like 10 trillion abroad. Yeah. But like, that's, again, that is not a good excuse. Like, this, your wife goes, can I look through your phone? And I go, no, because I'm afraid it might undermine your confidence that I'm not cheating in you. Like, well, that's the whole point. What do you mean? What kind of defense is that? Here, let's play Mike Johnson, what he had to say, and judge for yourself.
Any reaction to Leader Thune seeing the bill without adding amendments or changing it?
I'm deeply disappointed in this outcome. I think I've been at the state dinner. I don't know. I was just told that Chuck Schumer rushed it to the floor and put it out there preemptively. It needed amendments. I just spoke to the president about that. We'll see what happens.
So do you think he may veto it? You say you spoke to the president?
I'm not saying that.
Is he supportive of it in its current form?
We both have concerns about it, so we'll see. I was standing there with the Crown Prince.
Are you frustrated in the majority leader? Are you upset with the majority leader?
You get my point at the beginning, though. Just like, if nothing else, how catastrophically mishandled this whole thing has been politically. Like, what are you even saying? Like, why are you even making these comments? What are you so nervous about? What is going on here? It's so freaking creepy, man. I mean, the whole Epstein thing, the whole thing is like out of a twisted movie. You just can't even believe that you're actually watching what you're watching. So you're like, dude, there's a vote to uncover. Look, from what they are saying, right? From the official story here, Rob, Jeffrey Epstein was not a CIA agent, right? And he wasn't a government employee or an elected official or even a bureaucrat or anything like that. He was a private person who got caught, committing heinous sex crimes. and there's a vote over releasing the information, and you're going, I'm very troubled by this. It needed amendments. Me and the president are both concerned, and yet you don't feel the need to elaborate about what the concerns are and very specifically tell us why you would possibly be trying to suppress this information. Just these vague, it threatens the political order type of comments. It's just so strange to see. And this is the defense you're going with publicly? I don't know. It's just very bizarre.
I think it's very clear that Mike Johnson got his marching orders to try and make this disappear. They shut down the government where they were trying to dodge this vote. He was very aggressively talking out against Thomas Massie when this first came up. He just lost this battle, and that all of Congress voted with Massie to release these files. And now he's still doing everything he can to try and spin it as we were the most transparent. We were always looking for this. The Democrats only dug into this for political points, and there's still dangers in releasing the information. It's really just showcasing the fact that he does not want this storyline coming out as to what he's looking to protect. It could be an Israel interest. It could just be that he's so aligned with Donald Trump that Donald Trump said, my administration's not looking to delve into this, so he's just taking his marching orders.
It is the Democratic hoax one, man, of all the, because they oscillated back and forth between several ridiculous defenses. If, at one point it was like, oh, there's floods in Houston. We can't talk about this now. We're doing so much winning for the economy. But the Democratic hoax one, I mean, it's on the level, like it's really up there with the most blatant political gaslighting that I've ever seen. The example that comes to mind to me was Fauci, as we've covered a million times and laughed about. But when Fauci said, I never recommended locking anything down, they're like, wait, what? Like, you were on TV every single day, dude. We all saw you. Like, what? You expect us not to remember? But like, for them to go, hey, this was a Democratic hoax. Like, well, what's the obvious problem with that is that we're not retarded children who don't remember yesterday. Like, it's not, if it was a Democratic hoax, well, the Democrats controlled the government a few years ago after all of this shit had happened, right? And they never even said a peep about it, mentioned it, never tried to release anything. They never even tried to like gin up their base with something about Epstein and Donald Trump. They back then they would have like just tried to downplay this or called this some right-wing conspiracy. It was Trump and all of his men who campaigned on this issue and ginned up their base on this issue, and then had a fake binder party on this issue. And it was not until, Rob, as we all remember, it wasn't until Donald Trump then got real nervous, did a complete 180 and said, there's no such thing as the Epstein files. I don't even know what you're talking about. And then the Democrats went, oh, look, he's protecting himself. Like it was like at the last minute when he signaled he wasn't going to release anything. Yeah, they used that, but only because he was, taking such a massive hit with his own base that of course they wanted to get in on that. But to try to like reframe this as if the whole thing, like, what does it even mean when they say it's a Democratic hoax? What's the hoax, Rob? Are you saying that he wasn't abusing girls? Are you saying that he wasn't having big fancy parties with powerful politicians? Are you saying that he wasn't, that did Alan Dershowitz not get a massage where his defense was, I kept my underwear on? Like, was he not connected with these business dealings with Mossad? Was he not, like, what's the hoax exactly here? The hoax is that Donald Trump's trying to cover a thing up. The thing that he's openly admitting he's was against releasing until 2 minutes ago. Like, what even? It's like one of the things that's interesting about the Epstein soap opera is that Donald Trump so rarely misses the mark this much with how to market and sell his own agenda. Like even with tariffs, as much as we disagree with the economic policy, like he's got a thing to say that you understand why it would resonate with his people. And usually, Donald Trump's ability to like scoff at something, change the subject, throw you some next red meat to get you talking about that, come up with a nickname for someone to shut them down and make you kind of forget about that. His ability to do that has always been flawless, but with the Epstein thing, it's just like he's fallen flat on his face. You know, it's like he's like every single time he keeps trying a new thing, and then that, you know, like he would post on Twitter or Truth Social or whatever that like no one cares about the Epstein thing. It's over. It's only the Democrats. Then 3 days later, he's posted 7 more times about it. And you're like, well, what are you even saying then, dude? Like, I don't know. There's something, it's been very bizarre how nervous they all seem. And how that's leading to them, like, just, I don't know, presenting this in a way that just seems like, dude, you're just coming off as clearly lying. It's very strange. All right, guys, let's take a moment and thank our sponsor for today's show, which is My Patriot Supply. Ever since COVID, millions of Americans have started buying preparedness supplies. I know I fall into that category too. I've often said that the way the Great Depression was for my grandparents' generation, that's what COVID was. That's what COVID was for our generation. I know I've always been concerned since COVID about making sure I have everything my family needs in an emergency situation. And now our friends at My Patriot Supply have made that so much easier with their Black Friday survival special. It comes with a 4-week food supply plus $150 worth of free gifts, including everything you need to prepare your emergency meals, like a cook stove, fuel, fire starters, a water purifier, a bug out bag, and more. It's the complete survival kit your family needs to ride out natural disasters, civil unrest, or anything worse. It also makes a great Christmas gift. So go check them out right now at mypatriotsupply.com/problem, and you can see everything that's included. With all the uncertainty in the world right now, we simply can't afford to be unprepared, and you don't have to be. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/problem and get prepared today. All right, let's get back into the show.
Yeah, Johnson's trying to run whatever cover he can and go, it's still, we need to make amendments. This doesn't protect victims enough. It doesn't protect agencies enough, which that one is the most alarming one, is does not protect the agencies.
Oh, the poor agencies.
Yeah, why is that a concern? If the agencies were doing something so horrible that the general public would prefer us not to have the agency or conducted in that way.
And then the victims, right?
Yeah.
And then they say the victims, meanwhile, outside on their, megaphones, every victim and their family members are demanding the files be released. So he's like, oh, we'll protect victims, because it seems like this is the opposite of protecting victims. Seems like you're protecting victimizers. And then, yeah, protecting the agency is like, right. That kind of says it all right there.
And there was, I don't think we'll get to it, but in the clip I had sent, it was funny because you basically had hours.
Well, you know what? Let's do it because we got time. We got like 8 minutes here. Let's play that clip and then give your thoughts, because I did think that was interesting. You got that one right, Natalie?
Oh, it might just be in the. I might not have sent the clip. I might have just sent the picture.
No,
the timestamp.
I think you did.
Oh, it's a different clip, but it's interesting also.
Oh, okay. Well, then, do you want to talk about the thing you were saying before we watch this?
Yeah. So Natalie, while I'm chatting, if you want to look you can look it up. It's the MSNBC thing and the timestamps there. But essentially, you've got every single member of Congress going up there, and now that Thomas Massie pushed it over the limit, they all got to go up there and give their speech about why this is so important and why they're even more concerned than you are. Classic. That's just the theater of politics.
Love it.
They all got to spend their couple minutes. And Johnson goes up there to basically go, I just want to remind everyone that this is terrible. It's terrible that we're doing this now. The Democrats had 4 years to do it, and this is still a hoax that now they want to do it. And it's like, dude, at this point, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, if you want to get something done and someone else didn't want to get it done, and now all of a sudden they change their mind, you go, great, now we can work together and get it done. Yeah. It so clearly showcases, like, so what, are we supposed to wait 8 years till the Democrats go back around?
Yeah,
do it on their time?
You know what? Now that I thought about it, Rob, we shouldn't get to the bottom of this Jeffrey Epstein thing, because the Democrats are hypocrites. So we should let that go. Because they're hypocrites, so we should just let that go.
If the government looks bad while we're in control, then it's bad for us. So to keep our political points, what we need to do is wait till the Democrats are back around and then go after them.
Yeah.
You know,
Here, let's
yeah.
see. Natalie, let's see if this is.
As the leader of my party, I lead the incumbent protection program. Okay. That's my job. I go all around the country. I travel endlessly, incessantly. I have to raise over 3.
All right, here. You know, let's just let's go to that other clip that you had up before of Trump, and then we'll wrap up after that. My voice is still a little weak from the festival, Rob. I'm getting it back.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert.
Yeah, it really is like
He's crashing out, dude.
He's crashing out, and it does also. I don't know. It's just, you know, it's like with all these things, it's like stress tests or whatever, you know, like just in the sense that like on a personal level, you know, I just know like when things get hard, you learn things about people that you maybe wouldn't know about them during good times, you know, and like, so you see like Trump, that really is the ugliest part of Donald Trump too, that it's not, because it's one thing, again, like I said before, when Donald Trump's humiliating Hillary Clinton, it's like, well, hey, I mean, Hillary Clinton just deserves to be humiliated so much. But in moments like this, when a reporter asks a totally reasonable question, very politely, actually, she didn't ask it in a shitty way. For all, like, we've seen a million times over the years, Robin, we call balls and strikes on this shit. How many times have we called out reporters for the bullshit questions that they asked Donald Trump? But this wasn't one of them. She went, hey, since you've turned around and you're supporting releasing the files, like, why are we even doing this sham of a Congress vote? You're the president. You have the authority to release whatever files you want. Like, why tell them to vote on this and get, like, why not just release it yourself? And then what is his immediate instinct? Because he doesn't have a good answer. Let me try to humiliate her. And like, you know, it's one thing when you're humiliating a war hawk for lying us into a war, but like when your go-to is just to humiliate a woman because you're insecure and defensive that you don't have a good answer, it's hard to not look at that as just an incredibly ugly quality. Look, man, like I said on this last episode, I don't know what to say here, but I think we're looking pretty vindicated on a lot of the takes we've had here, because we've been talking about this since the Epstein thing happened. But it is hard to overstate how much Donald Trump ruined his political legacy over this Epstein thing. I mean, it really was excuse me. It was Donald Trump ruined so much of his political legacy over attacking Iran and then burying the Epstein files. Those, and they came real close together too, and they both seem to have to do with a similar foreign country. There was just so much of the energy and the support and the belief in Donald Trump like evaporated with those two things. And as we said in the last episode, I mean, just look at it. He's just, well, you said he's crashing out. This guy's cooked, dude. Donald Trump is cooked. And the America First movement, like this giant political movement that was a winning coalition in 2024, had better come to terms with the fact that Trump is cooked. We better start figuring out where we go from here. I would humbly suggest the next first step is we protect Thomas Massey and make sure he wins his re-election campaign. Final word to you, Rob, and then we'll wrap up.
I think that's an excellent first step. Look forward to seeing all you nice people out in Poughkeepsie.
Yep. See you guys there November 22nd. I'm not sure. I know the first show's sold out. There might be a few tickets left for that late show if you want to come out. All right. Catch you guys next time. Peace.